Hello, Sean here, Mountains Garage. I'm using my selfie stick, so if my eyes look funny, I apologize. Today's an exciting day. Last video I mentioned I was trying to make a deal with a friend of mine on a 56 Chevy two-door wagon. I think it's a 210. We'll see. I have not done enough of my Tri-5 Chevy research because I never thought I'd own one. But we made a deal. Pretty excited. I'm scheduled to be at his house at 9:30 to load up the miscellaneous parts. It's a beautiful day today. It's pushing 60 degrees, or it's going to. The snow is melting. Tomorrow it's going to rain. I'd like to get everything in the yard and unloaded and all secured before that happens. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to film as I go. I did all my spring preparation to break out the old Dodge, which included seeing if it would start. And off we go. I got to get some parts today for the 56 wagon. We're back with load number one. Have to sort this out and store it somewhere when I get back. I got to go back now for the fenders in the hood and then the whole car, or the remaining parts of the car. Looks like a brand new radiator. That's cool. Back with load number two, which was the front fenders and the hood, all freshly painted, so I'm trying not to scratch them too much. And trip number three, I'm back with the 56 two-door wagon on a borrowed trailer. I was going to go get it with my trailer. He told me just to take it. He only lives 4 miles away, my buddy that I got the car from. And leave it on the trailer. He had it all topped up, did a really nice job because it's not even wet inside. And it's going to be a big rainstorm tomorrow, so I need to do the same, get it all topped back up, at least for the night. But my first Tri-5, and I'm going to go ahead and say it, probably my last. I mean, I'm no spring chicken. I am a young guy in my mind, but you know, the chances of me ever, I didn't think I'd ever own one in the first place, because let's face it, they're usually priced way beyond what they're probably worth. But let's take a good look at it. Starting with the front end, the first thing that jumps out at me is it has disc brakes. They look fairly new, perhaps never run. It has a new fuel line. It's the green coated stuff like you get at Napa, along with the brake lines. Those are also new. They're not finished, but somebody was working on it. This frame horn from the bracket out is a little bit tweaked, but that's minor. You got to remember it's a 1956. It has replacement ball joints. I'm sure I'll go through the entire front end, but these are just casual observations. It of course has a clutch pedal, which is awesome. We're going to need that. And one half of the bell crank stuff. Manual steering. Wouldn't want it any other way. The suspension bushings are all cracked, so we'll fix that. This sound deadening is pretty alarming, but it's exactly what it is. The whole undercar is sprayed with some kind of probably factory undercoating. So the core support looks fine. Let's move further back. I'm going to have to ask the audience, or phone a friend if you will, here on YouTube, what trim level is this? My guess is a 210. I think the options are 150, 210, or Bel Air. I don't believe it's a Bel Air, but I'm sure there's experts that are going to tell me it has the molding that goes downward. At least the holes for it. So that is my question to you. If you know, educate me. I have not done my research. It starts tonight. Most of the interior laying over on the ground is the same greenish color. And most of the car inside is obviously that original turquoise color. This driver's door is a different color, so I'm going to assume it does not belong. But underneath, I mean, this is some nice stuff. The floors have been patched many, many moons ago. You can see some small welds, my shadow's in the way, but nothing alarming. I don't believe I'm going to do anything to it. You can see it's been the whole piece has been done. The rear piece has been done. Pretty common, but it's done, and I'm not going to change it unless I see something alarming underneath. I'll have to go around and pick up all this small hardware that's laying around. Might be handy later on. I'm happy that it still has the heater. Everything looks intact under the dash. The radio hole's been butchered. That's pretty normal, but maybe I'll put some gauges up there. Looks like a good opportunity. This car is a perfect platform to do anything you want to. It's never had a shifter hole cut, but it will. It must have been a 3-speed on the column. On the rear, we have this custom latch. It's actually a nice shop towel. And a bungee cord. But, I'm curious to see. I know there's mechanisms in their quarter panels to operate the tailgate. Yeah, she's empty, but it's a bare, what's the word I'm looking for, that you paint on? Easel? Print. The 2-inch tailpipes look tiny. They're brand new, but I don't know what I'm doing underneath. If I get the camera up there, if I'll keep the Wagon gas tank, or I'll get rid of the spare tire well and put a regular tank back here. Time will tell. I can't wait to get a good look underneath, but again, nothing's jumping out at me as being a problem. I've already mentioned I'm building a 9-inch Ford for it, so this rear end is history. Might use it in something else. I'm told it has an aftermarket shock cross member. I don't know what these 2 square patches are, one on each side, if you can see with the sunshine, as to what was going on there. It's not rust, it was something mechanical that was in there. I don't know. Maybe that's how they welded the shock cross member. I'll know when I see it. We're underneath for the first time together. Looks pretty usable to me. I'm actually impressed. These bins are like walking around a swap meet. It cost you a small fortune. I can't wait to go through all this stuff to see what I have and don't have. I have a grill. I have a lot of trim, hopefully enough to at least do the sides. Some windows, I'm impressed. Those are the rear. These may be the roll-up ones for the rear seat passengers, I'm not sure. I have at least one flip-down left-hand tail light for the fuel filler. These inner fenders he bought separate. They're nearly perfect, other than being red. I have a back seat as well as a front. Don't know if I'll use them, but it's a pretty good candidate. Though once again, I need to learn how to do upholstery. Maybe I start here. But for now, it's a really big piece. I already stuffed the rear seats in the box. I can get most of this stuff in the box, but that front seat is going to go in the car. Here's the hood. The bird has been removed. I'm okay with that. The fenders appear to be certainly usable. The eyebrows and stuff appear to be unmolested. If I can hopefully store them here for a short time without wrecking them, the wind blowing them away, we'll be good. Topped and parked for now. Parked. Somebody will make fun of me for that. And I managed to stash all the parts. The only piece I had to put in the big garage was the bench seat. It's always a relief when you've made it home with your project and you've stashed all the extra parts somewhere. Today I did a pretty good job, and most all of them are not in my way. The only thing I had to bring into the big garage in the extension was the bench seat. I don't know if I'm even going to use the bench seat or the back seat. My first thoughts, let's talk about the whole project. Again, it was a complete surprise a week ago that I thought it was even possible to have a Tri-5 Chevy. That's why I know almost nothing about them. But the reason I like them is my big brother, I've mentioned a few times, had one when I was a kid. I was putting around my bicycle and he was putting a motor in the yard. I remember them starting it for the first time. I have one photo of him standing next to it that I'll put in right here. My brother was obviously a huge influence and continues to be on my life. All positive. He has given me gifts of tools, like when I was growing up at Christmas time. All his gifts were very thoughtful. I still use them all and cherish them. He's just a good guy. He always had cool stuff. He had Harley Davidsons and a street rod project that was always sitting in the garage. I used to, play with it. And of course the 55 he had, and always had good advice amongst that. I mean, he's the ideal big brother. The only brother I have. I have 3 sisters and 1 brother, and I'm the youngest in my family. I'm the youngest of 5. So I can now check that off the list. And if you've watched some of my videos, which I hope you have, I've mentioned that if there is a mongrel, if you will, amongst the group, in this case 55, 6, and 7 Chevys, he had a 55 in my mind. I love the 55. I've always wanted the 55. I'm not going to have a 55. The 57, totally iconic. Mostly, so popular, you see them everywhere. They're kind of overdone. The 56 is the oddball. And of course, that's the model I get. And a 2-door wagon on top of that, in my mind, pushes it into the cool territory. And I'll learn to love the rest. So my plans for it, it's already been painted hot rod black within the last 6 months. It's not perfect. I don't want it to be. I've mentioned this before. I want something middle of the road at best, a beater. I want something, more hot roddy, rat roddy than a chrome badge. Those are nice too if that's what you're into, but that's too far the other way. And a regular guy can't afford all that chrome. I got $4,000 in chrome in my 71 Nova, and it doesn't have a lot of trim. So a Tri-5 Chevy, if you tried to come up with all that stuff, especially new old stock, not going to happen. So it's flat black. Everything I do from here on in is probably going to come out of a spray can. I have 2 buckets of trim. I have to put the trim on the side because all the holes are there. If it's in good shape, I guess I'll polish it. If it's not, and I really hope it isn't, I'm going to paint it all flat black. The entire car, the grill, everything. I've looked at the grill. It's not that great. It's okay. It's no shining star, so everything black. Wheels black, trim black, cars black, interior, everything black. For power, once again, my big brother's going to come into play. I hope he watches this video. When I got my Model A project, he is, of course, excited. He's building a Model A as well. He bought me a nice low-rise Edelbrock, I believe, dual quad manifold. I immediately made plans to put an LS in my Model A. Probably broke his heart. But I vowed at some point to build a car around that manifold. I'll put a picture of it right here. 2 years ago, approximately, he had the makings for a 377 small block. That's a 350 crank and a 400 block. All brand new parts. I bought that motor. And it's on my short list of things to assemble. What a perfect combination. I'm going to put that dual quad manifold he gave me. I've already bought carburetors and air cleaners that you saw in the picture. I'm going to put it on that 377. I'm going to use a old liquid scatter shield that I have that's 2-piece. The bottom drops out so you can actually service the clutch without touching the block plate and the upper part of the bell housing. And the bottom half drops out. Not legal for drag racing, but way overkill and awesome in a street car. That's why I bought it. I got a wicked good deal on it. It's sitting over there if you can see it. I don't know if you can or not. I'm going to use that. I already have a clutch. I think it's a Zoom clutch, 26 spline. Brand new flywheel that I bought to go on the 377. And the transmission is going to be the Doug Nash 4+1 5-speed that I bought a couple years ago. year ago. I don't know. You've seen a picture of it here on the channel if you follow along. The deal with the 4+1 5-speed, it's not an overdrive. It has a super low first gear, allowing you to run a 270 to 315, 320 rear axle gear. With the ultra low first gear, it accelerates like it has 456s. And then when you put it in high gear, which is still 1-to-1, you're cruising like you have a 0.67-ish overdrive. So it's poor man's overdrive, even though it's not a poor man's transmission. They're rated for 450 or 500 foot-pounds. Richmond still sells a basic transmission, but I believe they've finally put a real overdrive in it. But I don't think you can buy the 4+1 anymore, but I have one with the shifter. I'm just going to clean it up and put it in. They're easy to work on, but I'm not even going to take it apart. I'll put a new rear seal in it, clean her up, and bolt it in. I got it. It was from a nice old guy. He said it worked. Good enough for me. If not, I'll fix it. Parts are still available from Richmond, so even though it's a Doug Nash. They also made, Doug Nash back in the day made a drag race version. I'd love to have one of those, but in a street car, it's, you know, it's a crash box, clutch assisted. Not what this car needs. This car is going to be just for cruising. On speculation, I mentioned in the last video, I bought a set of axles I found in the Speedway garage sale section last Sunday to build a Tri-5 Chevy 9-inch Ford. I have already built a 315, they're rem polished NASCAR gears used. I bought straight out of Mooresville, North Carolina. I have a NASCAR G-Force locker. I bought a whole bunch of those. I've got the rear end all built, so a 315 gear. I guess I mentioned that, which would be perfect for my, you know, ultra low first gear. So that should be a good combination. Dual quad 377, 5-speed, 315 9-inch Ford. The door panels and rear panels, I have some of that stuff that it looks to be original from the car. It'll be a good pattern eventually. I'm not going to worry about, you know, indoor trim, inside trim right away. But in my mind, that's the way it works. I have an industrial sewing machine. I want to learn how to do that stuff, so this is a good way to learn. I need to do the Nova as well, but between the two of those vehicle projects, maybe I'll get good at upholstery, at least adequate at upholstery. I really enjoy the mechanical stuff. The interior stuff, we'll see. I have the front bench seat and the back seat that would flip down originally. Initially, I'm not going to use it. I have more Envoy and Silverado seats. They are heated, power, seat belts built in, armrests. I have the front and the back. They're gray, but you know, for now, I think they'll be just fine and super comfy. Again, this is not going to be a restoration. It's going to be just a hot rod, which is all I ever wanted. In the short term, I want to get the front sheet metal bolted back on, but before I do that, I want to take a dummy small block that I have around the bell housing and the transmission and move the transmission cross member. It has an aftermarket one that came with it, probably in the wrong spot, and make my own front motor mounts. You can buy a kit to do it, but you end up welding half the thing anyway. I have nothing but raw material right in front of me. So while the front sheet metal's off, that'll be an ideal time to do that. I'll need to make a bracket. My Lakewood housing has the bracket on the housing for the Z-bar that you need on a Tri-5. It doesn't go to the block, which is really handy because that 400 small block doesn't have a hole in it for the, you know, Chevelle Nova location for the pivot ball for the Z-bar. So I was going to drill that. Now I probably won't because this motor has the destination, and just like that, I save myself drilling and tapping a hole. I might still do it. I don't know. But I'm all hot and sweaty, even though the snow's melting. I had one mishap today while hooking up his trailer. I stepped in dog poop. My work boots can hold a lot of dog poop, so I spent a good amount of time, you know, walking around trying to rub it off in the snow before I got back in my Suburban. Had to do a little cleaning in there. Hey, but if that's your only mishap on a hot rod adventure, well, so be it. So I'm glad you got to the end of this video if you did. Subscribe if you can. Be sure to tune in. Catch you in a couple days.